Hello everyone. We live in times where there's been a great amount of concern and terrible stories in the newspapers about, within the UK, child grooming and exploitation. Speaking of sex gangs, young women normally being groomed from an early age, got onto alcohol and drugs and treated in the most horrific way. Or used as sex slaves by organised gangs. Now this has caused a great amount of consternation, quite rightly so. And there are people out there who have sought to cover up what's been going on. It would appear that the establishment, the police forces in the areas involved, most recently in Telford, very near to my home, have, through political correctness, expediency, whatever you wish to call it, for many years allowed these things to continue unchallenged. Now the evidence is coming to the fore and we see the full extent of this. It's horrific, utterly horrific. And many people have used this to attack the background of the perpetrators. Yes, of course, in many instances it would appear that many of the perpetrators of these awful, awful crimes are people who've come from backgrounds in Pakistan and North Africa, many of whom have been of the Islamic faith. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone of that faith should be criticised and attacked for this. What we have to do is get to the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is very simple. When there are people who enter our country who have different values to us and sometimes have different systems of beliefs to us, we have to ensure they understand entirely that when you live in the United Kingdom, you abide by our rules and our values. You simply cannot come here and do as you wish. Now the problem has been, due to the ethos of multiculturalism and political correctness, people seem frightened to speak about these issues. I, for one, am not, and an increasing number of people will stand firm against this. And I know that many people of the Islamic faith as well are horrified by what has gone on. And it would be wrong to accuse all people of that faith of being involved in this kind of awful, barbaric behaviour. When people are involved, whatever faith they're from, whatever their background, the full force of the law should be applied to them. Now this applies to grooming of young women. It also applies to crimes like female genital mutilation. It applies to everything that breaks the law of the UK and the moral and ethical standards of a modern civilised nation. There should be no hiding place for anyone who perpetrates these crimes. I don't care what faith they are, what background they are, what standards and beliefs they might have had, where they came from. That is irrelevant. All that matters is when you live in a civilised country, you live by those standards. Of course, you can worship and believe in whatever God you wish. That is the right of a free person, and certainly an enshrined right in the UK, and has been for centuries. And you must never, ever risk closing down freedom of religion, freedom of expression, or anything like that on the basis of the behaviour of some awful people. But when people do these kind of crimes, when groups of society are involved in them, when people from a certain area are involved in the gang, it should not hold us back. Can you imagine if this crime had been committed by a group of white English men? They would have been smashed years ago. It's been held back because of this politically correct, multicultural nonsense. At the end of the day, what matters is right and wrong. What matters is the future of these young women. What matters is their families. What matters is decency in our country. We must put an end to this. No excuse is acceptable. I don't care what background someone is. I don't care what they believe in faith-wise. You break the law, you will be punished. And the punishment should be severe, and the police resources should be strong. And anywhere we hear stories of this dreadful grooming going on, whether it be on the streets of Telford or Rotherham, or whether it be within the BBC. It must be investigated, the perpetrators must be found, and the full force of British justice brought to bear. We are a civilised nation with civilised standards that we must upkeep. No excuses. You break the law, you break our standards. Whoever you are, whatever your background, you must be brought to justice. The British people are sick to death of this. We're mad as hell. We're not going to take it anymore. We're standing our ground now. The authorities need to listen. They need to listen and change things before it gets too late and things get out of control. Here and now, I call upon UK authorities, wherever you have any suspicion of any behaviour along the lines of child abuse, exploitation, genital mutilation, offences in general which will cause harm to us, or any threat of any kind of insurgency against the people of the UK, act. Act now. Show that democracy works. Show the people you are there for them. And I urge all of the people of the UK, put pressure on. Stand your ground. Say what you think. There are elections coming soon, local ones albeit, but it's an opportunity for you to say to people, we're not happy, we want something done. Speak up. This is our chance to speak up. The news is broken, we know what's going on. Now's the time to say what we think. Let's force the authorities to do the right thing for once. Stop worrying about sensitivities and offending people. If someone commits a crime, bring them to justice. It's the British way, it's the right way, it's civilised. Do it. Thank you.